Hey guys, it's Shadow the Rat, and for today's video, I want to answer a question that I get quite a bit, and that is, why do I have female rats instead of male rats? And also the follow-up question of, would I ever consider having male rats? And to answer the first question, there are three main reasons that I don't have male rats. And the first one is that I just don't like having separate cages, and I don't like having to do separate free-range times. For me, having separate free-range time in particular is one of the hardest things because I just always feel like one of the rat groups is getting gypped and not getting as much time. I also just feel like it's harder for me to have a stress-free free range when I'm always worried about getting the other rat group out as well. So it just doesn't work well for me. I know plenty of people who do just fine with having multiple rat groups, but it's just not something that I enjoy. And I have fostered rats, I have pet sat rats, I've had different groups of rats in my care for many different reasons, and I just don't enjoy it as much as having one single group. Now, I actually do currently have two separate groups of rats because my female rats are being little butts and not accepting one of my new rats very well. But the difference is that my females get along in free range time, meaning that I still get to give them free range together. And they also get along in their travel cage, so when I clean their cages, they stay together. So all in all, it's exactly the same care-wise as having one group, even though they are technically separated when it's inside cage time. But when it comes to having, intact males and intact females, you can't let them free range together. And yeah, some people do let their intact males and intact females free range together and they will watch them. And by the way, that watch was sarcastic because there's really no way to ethically free range your intact males and intact females together unless you're planning to breed. Because the thing is, it literally just takes a second for them to mate. They are super quick about it, and a male can trigger a female to go into heat if the male is intact, and especially if he's in contact with her. So it's really not a good idea to let your intact males and females interact, even if you think you're keeping a really good eye on them, and I myself would never do it. I will not let an intact male and female meet in free range time. I just feel like that is way too risky for no reason. So yeah, if I had intact males and intact females, I would have to free range them separately, and that would just be extra stress on my part, because like I mentioned, I don't like doing separate free range times, and I just don't enjoy having two separate groups. Now, moving on to the second point, the second reason that I don't have males is because of, honestly, just convenience. Now, what I mean by this is that nearly 8 years ago, when I first got my first rats, the only ones available within a few hours of me were 3 female rats. So I took these rats home, and when 2 of them passed away, I was left with one 16-month-old girl. So at that point, I had to get her some cage mates, and of course the easiest ones to get were just 2 young females. And so I ended up getting them and introducing them to my older girl, and ever since then, when my numbers have dwindled, I've introduced some more females. Now there is one exception to this, and this was actually in my last group where I had a neutered male called Marshmallow. Now some of you might remember him because I had him for a little bit over a year, and he was an older boy when I got him, and he had been neutered many months before I got him. Now I'm not against neutering males to have them live with females. I know some people are against this. Personally, I don't think it's a problem. Neutering is fairly low risk. It does have some benefits when it comes to behavior and health. That being said, it is a process. You have to have them neutered. You have to keep them separate for 10 days. It's pretty costly, often, $300 to $400 depending where you are. Some people get it really cheap. I mean, I've seen people get their rats neutered for like $50. That's not the case in my area, unfortunately, so I would be paying a few $100. On top of that, a lot of vets won't neuter males until they're a certain age, so if you're planning to get a young male to neuter and then introduce to your females, it's only really ethical if you get 2 of them, because otherwise they're going to be living a few months solo, which just isn't fair on the rat. So just all in all, there's a lot of things that go into neutering males to have them house with females, and for me, it was just always easiest to add in more females, so that's kind of just the route I went. And if another neuter male in my area needed a home, I'd be happy to give him one with my girls. I'd love to have another neuter male in the group. Anyways, the last reason that I can't have males is honestly because they have a bit of an odor to them. And I know some people will contest this, but as someone who has dealt with both intact males and intact female rats, I can tell you there is definitely a difference odor-wise and marking-wise. Males just have more of a greasy smell to them, and they also tend to mark more. And on the other hand, females, both intact and spayed, and neutered males are pretty much odorless when it comes to their body, and they do mark still, but it's typically a lot less than intact males. Anyways, I am not really bothered by the smell of intact males or the marking, but I do live with family members who are bothered by it. I have pet sat and I have fostered males before, and my family is never super pleased with it just because they don't like the odor the males have. Even with my female rats, when I first got them, it was an adjustment, and they don't smell very much, but compared to gerbils, which is what I had before, they definitely have more of an odor to them. So intact males are just too big of a jump for us, and I will not be able to have any intact males in the house permanently until I am, well, living somewhere else. So yeah, those are the main 3 reasons that I don't have male rats, and for the foreseeable future, I probably won't be getting any unless, again, a neutered male in my area becomes available. Now, I do think it is important to note that I did not say anything about temperament or trainability, and I want to mention this briefly now because I think a lot of times when people ask me why I don't have males, they think I don't have them because they're less trainable or something like that, and I can tell you right now that that is completely false. Male rats are just as easy to train as female rats, and they are just as quick to pick things up. I think a lot of people think that they're not as trainable because they tend to be a little bit calmer and a little bit larger than females, but that really doesn't have any impact on their trainability, except maybe when it comes to using certain agility obstacles. And especially with younger rats, all young rats, regardless of sex, are very active. So if you want a rat to train something like agility with, it doesn't matter which sex you go with because they will both really enjoy it when they're younger and typically not enjoy it quite as much when they get older, especially if they get chubby. So yeah, those are the main reasons that I don't have male rats and probably won't for quite a while. And, I guess I'm curious, for those of you who also keep one sex of rats, is there a reason for it? And would you ever consider changing which sex you keep or just having both at once? And if so, why or why not? Okay, so that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!